government's 4th of July goal. It was seen as a crucial step towards reaching so-called herd immunity. The US is battling a new wave driven by the highly infectious Delta variant, which has mostly infected those who are not jabbed. Daily cases have been soaring to an average of 66,000, while some 300 people are dying every day. Cases are concentrated in communities with lower vaccination rates. Florida and Texas are hotspot areas, which accounts for 1 in 3 cases nationwide. In a silver lining, states that lagged behind in their vaccination rates are catching up. Officials say while the Delta variant poses the strongest threat yet to vaccine protection, the current generation of shots are continuing to keep a majority of vaccinated people out of hospitals and alive. Malaysia's Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin says he will propose a motion to debate on the country's emergency in an upcoming parliament meeting in September. While the COVID-19 state of emergency expired on 1st August, Mr. Muhyiddin says the process of revoking emergency laws and regulations is not complete. The Prime Minister caused a stir last week over the handling of the nation's coronavirus state of emergency. His government claimed to lift all the emergency laws without informing the king or lawmakers. The monarch widely criticized the move and accused officials of misleading the public and parliament. Mr. Muhyiddin's decision to debate the issue in parliament comes a day after dozens of opposition MPs protested and demanded his resignation. Parliament has been shut for 2 weeks after coronavirus cases were detected in the building. Critics have cried foul, saying it's just another call by Mr. Muhyiddin to avoid a no-confidence vote. The US has criticized plans by Myanmar's military leader to hold polls in 2 years, saying it shows the military is stalling for time. It has urged ASEAN leaders to step up the pressure. Myanmar's military ruler Min Aung on Sunday reiterated his pledge to hold elections, but postponed them by another year to 2023. A senior US State Department official says this move is aimed at prolonging the calendar to the military's advantage. He urged ASEAN to engage Myanmar on this and hold them to the 5-point consensus it agreed upon. The senior State Department official was speaking while US State Secretary Antony Blinken and ASEAN counterparts hold a week-long virtual meeting. The US has indicated issues including tackling climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Blinken is expected to engage regional partners on Washington's effort to push back against China's growing influence. The State Department has said that the US cannot force China to cooperate, but Washington wants to expand climate change cooperation with ASEAN to a ministerial level. Washington said that the North Korean foreign minister is also expected to participate in the ASEAN forum, but Secretary of State Blinken has no plan to engage with him on any particular issue. And Virginia's back with an Asian business update, including India's much-awaited rollout of 5G services could be delayed by several roadblocks. And later, how the Olympics inspired the tourism in this sleeping sector. In Indonesia, an overwhelming surge of COVID-19 cases. But the vaccination rate has been dismal, as is the case in the Philippines.
We have only vaccinated about 2% of our population. We have to manage the pandemic without the vaccines.
What has led to this crisis in both countries? The politics of vaccines. Insight, Thursday on CNA.
The financial world goes 是一种极大的努力。
People fighting for change.
한국 사회에서 불평등이 굉장히 심각해지고 있는데요.
Deciphering South Korea, premiering 14th of August on CNN.
In business news, markets mixed in the region because investors are somewhat spooked by the highly contagious Delta variant and its impact on economic recovery. But some bargain hunting emerged towards the end of the session. In Japan, the Nikkei ended lower about 0.5% on the back of gaming shares retreating on Chinese media label concerns, and the Kospi ended the day higher, recovering from earlier losses up by almost slightly more than 0.4%. That's in part thanks to chip giants leading the gains there. The TAIEX also closed in positive territory, up by almost 0.3%. And losses in the regional markets today reflect concerns over the resurgence of COVID-19 cases. But one expert says there's a silver lining in the markets for global investors.
I don't think they've been overly optimistic. I think, clearly the recent data has injected a dose of reality to the markets. But I don't see growth falling off the cliff. The slowdown in growth is probably because of, supply bottlenecks, partly because of, the Delta variant, and also because, the fiscal stimulus from some countries will start to wane after, we saw a big fiscal stimulus in the last 6 to 9 months. So those factors will mean that, growth in the first half has peaked and growth will slow down in the second half. I think that's largely something that the markets have priced in to some extent. So, one or two data points may not tell the complete story. We'll have to wait for more data points. Silver lining is that, weaker than expected growth numbers may actually lead to central banks delaying, tightening, or even extending their stimulus. So that's something, that's not been fully factored into the markets, and that could be a silver lining to the markets.
The International Monetary Fund has expanded its reserve assets by $650 billion. It's meant to help nations deal with mounting debt and cope with the impact of the pandemic. Now, that's the IMF's biggest resource injection ever. IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva says it'll be a shot in the arm for countries struggling in the crisis and could help stabilize the global economy. Known as Special Drawing Rights, or SDRs, they will come into effect on August the 23rd. And of the $650 billion, about $20 billion will go to low-income countries, and more than $210 billion will go to emerging markets as well as developing countries. The IMF had been pushing to increase its emergency reserve since last year, but was blocked by its largest contributor, the US, as under President Donald Trump. The US position changed under the Biden administration, with Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen proposing ways to reallocate reserves of richer nations to support vulnerable countries. Businesses in India that stand to benefit from high-speed internet are eagerly awaiting the rollout of 5G services in the country, which authorities hope can begin next year. Its cumulative economic impact is set to hit $1 trillion by 2035, but experts say that unless several major roadblocks are removed, the rollout could be delayed. Ishangarg reports.
Autonomous robot maker Autonomy is one of the hundreds of businesses eyeing the launch of 5G services in India. The robots use sensors to create a 3D model of their surroundings so they can pick up and deliver food parcels. Right now they work on 4G network technology, but with 5G they could halve their delivery time by speeding up the robots' ability to communicate with each other.
So when we say that these multiple robots are connecting together and creating a repository of information which is accessible by any one of them, so that makes all of them intelligent at the same time.
The faster download speeds and minimal data processing delays offered by 5G technology will benefit several industries, including online gaming, remote surgery, augmented and virtual reality, as well as e-learning. Analysts say it may add up $30 billion in revenue for tech companies in the next 5 years. Telecom companies aim to provide 5G services to 500 million internet users in the next 2 decades. But
we didn't turn up routine. The air environmental issue is a huge issue for traditional livestock like beef farming or chicken farming. So we believe that the new livestock will be necessary for this work. The new livestock will need to be more efficient, we need fewer input, producing more output. Insects, like crickets, are part of the solution.
Would you like to try one of our cricket truffles?
I want to go for coconut because this is where I'm coming from. Very authentic.
Cricket powder is extremely versatile, so we can use it in many different products. You disassociate the insect with the powder, so it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If we can integrate it into worldwide cuisine, then everyone can associate with it, same as they do with other meats now.
Crickets are something that are really good for the environment, good for people, good for health. If the insect is the way that you have to save the environment, you have yourself to consume better food and have the farmer improve their income. So let it insect.
Singapore is running out of space.
There are more developments now, it's harder to find land.
But the little red dot needs to re-engineer for the 21st century.
We are going from about 350 megawatts of solar to 2 gigawatts of solar, and that's a huge jump. Plus megaport will be very significant game changer.
With new mega projects using state-of-the-art technologies.
I did not believe the space-saving part until I saw it with my own eyes.
It's kind of new for Singapore to have solar panels on water.
That are ambitious in scale.
Nobody has done it before. This is the only job that allows you to work on a smart city project in Singapore. Over the next 20 years, we will be developing 60 plus berth. I can't imagine that we are doing this.
All designed to find more space and allow Singapore to flourish. Tomorrow City, premiering the 16th of August, Monday on CNA.
If the UK had not had the Delta variant, I think there would be no conversation at all about how safe it was to unlock restrictions at this stage of the UK epidemic over the summer. In fact, I think most of the discussion would be that we did it too slowly, that we were too cautious.
Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. It is precisely its diversity that made Indonesia what it is. Charlie Batmani, CNA, Jakarta.
The headline news is Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin has agreed to table the country's COVID-19 state of emergency in Parliament next month. He says the order isn't completely revoked as previously claimed. Several lawmakers have slammed the Premier's sudden U-turn. At the same time, Mr. Muhyiddin's biggest political ally UMNO is debating whether to continue supporting him. COVID-19 returns to ground zero of the pandemic. All 11 million residents in Wuhan will be tested after the city found 7 new infections. Its first global cases in more than a year. Wuhan now joins a growing number of Chinese cities battling to contain the Delta variant. The outbreak in Nanjing has now spread to over 20 cities across more than a dozen provinces. And Japan will only hospitalize severely ill COVID-19 patients, while others will be required to isolate at home. This is a strategy to help ease pressure
documentary special.
Who's had a President's Award before. So I was wondering if we could take a quick selfie.
Love to. We leave a
little carbon footprint, but
I won't put it up on Instagram, I promise.
okay, all right.